Hello and welcome everyone. Today is the final episode of the free Log 360 workshop series in which we are going to look at auditing your databases as well as correlating multiple network events. My name is Niyati and I am a product specialist with ManageEngine's IT security solutions team. So, very quickly, I'd just like to recap what we have seen in this workshop series so far. So, in the first three episodes of this series, I have given you all a brief overview of what Log 360 is. Log 360 is a comprehensive SIEM solution for your network, which consists of two main components, which are AD Audit Plus and EventLog Analyzer. AD Audit Plus helps you perform in-depth auditing of your Active Directory environment, and so you can use this to monitor all of your users and employee activity, monitor all your privileged administrators, and keep a check on internal threats. Also, the EventLog Analyzer component allows you to manage and analyze your network logs from all of your network devices, such as all your Unix and Windows workstations, your routers and switches, your firewalls, your application servers, and much more, and get a comprehensive view of your overall network activity and use this information to prevent external threats to your network. And in the second and third episodes of this workshop series, I told you all how you can use Log 360 to perform in-depth network device auditing. So how you could use it to secure your routers and firewalls. And also yesterday we looked at application auditing. So I gave you all an introduction to the importance of application auditing and how you can use the Event Log Analyzer component to audit your web servers as well as import logs from your custom applications. So, in today's workshop, I'm going to be going a little more in depth into the topic of database auditing. So, we are still on the topic of application auditing, but we are going to be talking today mainly about database auditing. So, I'm going to be telling you why it is so important and also how you can perform database auditing using Event Log Analyzer of Log 360. So, first up, I will tell you how you can start collecting these logs and how you can enable auditing on the database server side. So, this is how you get set up. Once you collect logs from your database servers, you can generate actionable reports. So you can generate in-depth reports that cover various aspects of database activity. And finally, once I take you through the database reports, I'm going to be summarizing, or rather, I'm going to put all that we have learned so far into one uh, cool new feature that we have, which is event correlation, which is a really powerful feature that helps you stop complex attacks to your network. So I'll be explaining what event correlation is, how you can detect attacks that play out across various network devices on your network, and I'm going to be showing you an example report. So I'm going to be giving you an example attack scenario and how you can analyze this attack using the in-depth report. So first up, the importance of database auditing. So, your ability to answer very detailed questions about what is going on in your organization's databases can make or break a compliance audit or a security investigation. Aside from the obvious need for this information in the event of a breach, it's also important to keep this information handy at all times because various government, financial, and health regulations have clauses related to database auditing and they charge you with heavy fines in case of any violations. So we need to be able to answer a variety of questions at any given point of time, such as who accessed your data, when did they do it, how were they able to access it, and was this change approved, was it done with the proper authorization, as well as you need to be able to answer the question, are your privileged users abusing their unlimited access? So you need to be able to keep a check on them as well. So, to put it a little bit more into context, I'll just give you a quick example of a couple of clauses from the SOX compliance policy. So, as you can see here, there are two sections which state the following. One, that the management has to implement control to consistently produce reliable financial information. And another section, section 404, states that an external auditor must report on the reliability of the management assessment. So think about how you can translate these high level statements to uh, a low level, how you can include these in your database auditing strategy. So you need to think about four main issues. So one, the separation of duties. So as I said, you need to be able to monitor the privileged user activity as well. So you need an external auditor, so a separate person needs to be in charge of the database auditing. And accountability, each change to your financial data needs to be logged, and you need to be able to account for every change that happens to your databases. Details, so you need all the details of every change that happens on your databases. So you need to know who made it, when it was made, the exact query that was executed, and much more. And finally, establishing a baseline. So when you're auditing your databases, in the course of your database auditing, you'll be able to establish a baseline of normal activity. And with this baseline, you should be able to judge when any activity occurs which is out of the ordinary. So when any anomalous activity occurs, uh, you should be able to immediately recognize it and launch an investigation into it. So these are all the reasons why database auditing is really important. And obviously, I don't need to mention how important data is to any organization. So this is why you need to really take care to audit your databases. So now let's start talking about how we provide database auditing in Log 360. So the EventLog Analyzer component provides you with predefined out-of-the-box support for your Microsoft SQL servers and Oracle database servers. And we're going to be looking into how you can add these databases in a few minutes. But of course, if you need to collect the logs from any other databases, you can always use the import logs feature, which we looked at yesterday. So I'm going to be showing you an example of how you can add an SQL server for monitoring. So there are two parts to this. One, on the database server side itself, you would have to go over to your database server, open your SQL Server Management Studio, and perform a couple of steps which I'll be showing you to ensure that these logs are sent over, can be sent over to your EventLog Analyzer server. So on the log 360 end or the event log analyzer end, you would have to just perform a couple of simple steps. One, you would have to add the database server, as in the server on which your database is installed. You would have to add it as a device. And then you would have to add the database itself as an application source and associate it with the device which you added in the first step. Okay, so if this sounds a bit confusing, don't worry, I'm going to be showing it to you right now. So as I said, First, you would have to perform a couple of simple configuration steps on the database server end itself. So this is a SQL server that I have. So I'm just going to be showing you the quick steps that you need to follow. So there are two database objects that you need to create. So first, open your Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio application, and now open the Object Explorer, which is expanded over here. Expand the security node that you see, and over here are the two objects that we need to create. So the first is an audit object. Now basically an audit object is a database object that sends over all of your database logs to a specified location. Now, how does this object know which exact logs to send over? So it does this with the help of an audit specification object. Now, the audit specification object is an object which lists various categories of database events and sends it over to us a linked audit object. So again, if that's confusing, I'll just show you how to do it so that you get the hang of what it is. So once again, go to the Object Explorer, expand the security node, and right click on Audits and select New Audit. So first you just have to specify a name for this audit object. So I'm going to be calling it uh, database auditing, and there are several other options, but we don't need to look into that right now. You just have to mention where you wish to send these audit events. So click on application log, and once you do this, this audit object will send over all the specified database events to the application logs of your Windows system. So simply click on OK, and you can see that your new audit object is created over here. Right now it's disabled. We will enable it after we create the associated audit specification object. So to do this, once again, simply right click on server audit specification and select new server audit specification. Again, give it a name, database auditing specs, and select the related audit object. So this specification object is going to be collecting the various audit action types, which I will mention in a couple of seconds, and send it to the linked audit object. So now see, there are various categories of database events. So you need to be able to strike a balance and audit only those events which are necessary and really important for you to get a sufficient picture of what is happening on your database. So to do this, just you would have to specify. So you can see there are various categories over here, but it would really slow down your auditing process if you added all of these categories. So there are a few essential categories which you would need to add, and which send them over to your log 360 server. So the audit action types are the failed login group and successful login group. So of course it's you can see from the name that these categories audit the various logon events. You can also select the login change password group. So this of course is to do with various password changes, which is also something important which you need to monitor. Then the database object change group, which helps you monitor the various create, alter, and drop statements on your database objects. and the database principal change group. So this is to do with the creation and modification of your user objects, which are basically your database principals. The schema object change group, which again deals with changes to your schema objects. And the server principal change group. And finally, the server state change group. Once again, all of these details are available extensively in our help documentation. So if you would like to go through them at your leisure, you can always refer to the same. I'm just showing you the basics of how to do this. So once you select all the audit action types which you require, you can click on OK. And once again, you can see the new object created over here. And there by default these are disabled. You would simply have to right click on the newly created object and click on enable. So that's about it on the database server end. Now let's come over to Log360. This is the EventLog Analyzer component of Log360. So as I said, there are two basic steps to be done over here. You would have to add the database server itself as a device. So the remote machine that I just showed you would have to be added as a separate device on EventLog Analyzer. And then you would have to specify that this database application exists on it. So you need to add the database also as an application source. So we have dealt with how you add Windows devices and various devices before. You would have to do that by using the add device uh, page over here. So you can do this using the automatic Windows discovery feature. And see, the device is already added. So you can see over here, this is the server on which my database is installed. So it's already added. So I'll just close this for now. And of course, if you would like to add an application as we discussed yesterday, simply go over to your settings page and click on Manage Application Sources. So now you would have to add an application. So click on the Add Application button. Select the application type as SQL Server. Select the device, the associated device. And it's already added, but I'm just going to I'm just showing you the steps of how you do it. So you just have to specify the application type, the associated device, and click on add, and that's it. Once you do this, EventLog Analyzer immediately starts monitoring this device for SQL Server logs, and you already know that it's going to collect the exact events that you need because you have configured it that way on the database server end. So now that we've discussed how you enable auditing, let's start discussing the types of reports that we provide you with. So there are basically four categories of reports. So first, you can audit your various user account actions. So when any user accounts are created or deleted, or let's say a password is changed, you can get information about all of this using the user account reports. And then, of course, you have server auditing. So this is to do with actions performed on the SQL Server application itself. So not the database actions, but the server actions, such as what we just did was server action. So I created an audit object and I created a related audit specification object. So when any configuration changes occur on your SQL Server side itself, you can get the information related to all of this under the server auditing reports. And of course, to do with actual data auditing, you have your DDL and DML reports. So as in when database users manipulate or access data on your databases, you can see the details related to these changes under the DDL and DML reports. And finally, you can also get information related to any attack attempts that are made on your databases. So there are several common database attacks such as your SQL injection attacks or your denial of service attacks and much more. So you can get information related to this on the under your attack reports. So I'll just show you where you can find these reports. You simply have to go over to the reports tab and click on applications. So you can see here that we have several report groups for each of your databases. So we have 5 groups for the SQL server and 4 report groups for your Oracle server. So I'll just show you a couple of examples. I'll show you a couple of DDL and DML reports because monitoring your database changes and monitoring how users are manipulating your data is probably one of the most popular reasons why people wish to perform database auditing. So this is the created tables report. So you can see here that you have complete information regarding all the tables that have been created in the specified time period over here. So you see the various details such as the user, the device, and much more, the time at which it happened. So you can get all of these details under the various reports. So these are the details of all tables that have been deleted or changed and much more. So you can explore all the reports that we have over here. You have these reports related to various objects such as databases, tables, views, stored procedures, and more. And of course, if you'd like to see who is accessing your data, you can see the details over here. Select, insert, update, and delete statements. So you can see all the selected tables. You can see when data was inserted into tables, when various tables were changed, and much more. And of course, if you would like all of this information in real time, if you would like to know immediately when any specific event occurs, you can always go over to the alerts tab and create an alert to be notified via email or SMS when any of these database events occur. So this way you will be the first to know whenever any event of interest occurs on your database. So that was all about database auditing. Now, to close this workshop series, I'd like to talk to you all a little bit about our latest updated feature. So we have completely upgraded our event correlation module, and now it is much more flexible and powerful than before. So it allows you to track various complex incidents that occur across various devices on your network. So I'll just, before I tell you what exactly it is, I'll tell you why you need event correlation. So there are two important points to know. Um, Basically, very often, individual events are never enough to provide the whole picture. So let's take an example. Let's say a user fails to log on to Windows. Okay, there's nothing too suspicious about that. Their failed logons happen all the time. But what if that very same user fails to log on multiple times in succession and then suddenly manages a successful logon? So, this is what we call a brute force attack. So, this brings us to point number two. Various attacks and threats are most often complex incidents, as I just mentioned. They're complex incidents and don't involve just a single event. They are, in fact, a sequence of multiple events that occur across various devices on your network. So, let's say a person logs on to a specific device and then accesses an application server and performs some activity on that application. So, you can see that there are different types of events involved over here and different types of devices as well. So this is why you need event correlation, because event correlation is a technique which can process logs from various network sources, and it can connect the related information from these logs, and it can thus identify threats and provide you with a detailed log trail instantly. So I'm going to be explaining all of this with an example attack scenario. So I'm going to be telling you how you can detect suspicious SQL backup activity. So let's consider that there is a malicious insider within your organization. And this attacker, this malicious insider, wishes to steal some of your critical business information which is stored on your SQL Server database. So there are a couple of ways he can do this. He could either gain physical access to the SQL Server itself and log in using a brute force attack, or he could even log in remotely. Since this is an insider that we're talking about, the person could just log in from their own machine or any other compromised machine. They can log in remotely to the database server machine, once again using a brute force attack. So they are going to be attempting several login credentials before they are successfully able to log in. And once they do this, all they have to do is log on to your database application. Let's say they have stolen the credentials from somewhere, they can log on to your database application as well, and then take a backup of the data that they require to any location of their choice. So you can see that there are four distinct events over here. I'm sorry, the screen says three, but there are four distinct events over here. So you have several failed Windows logons. So this could be either a remote logon or a direct interactive logon. So you have several failed Windows logons followed by a successful Windows logon, followed by an SQL Server logon, followed by an SQL Server database backup. So I'll just show you a quick image to make this a bit more clear. You can see that the malicious insider is either directly or using a remote device logging on using a brute force attack to the target SQL Server machine, and then the same user performs an SQL Server logger and then takes a backup of your data. So how you construct this as an event correlation rule is what I'm going to show you right now. So we have a predefined rule that helps you identify this exact specific use case that I've just described. So when at least 5 failed logons occur within 10 minutes, and then it is followed by a successful logon within the next 2 minutes, and then it is followed by an SQL Server logon within the next half an hour, and again a backup is taken within the next half an hour. So this is how we construct this as a very detailed attack scenario. So you can see that we need to specify the types of devices involved, we need to specify the types of events that happen, we need to specify the order in which these events happen, and we need to specify even the timing. So how many minutes you need to wait between each event. So as you can see, you have the flexibility to mention all of these details on your own. You can select various events and order them as you wish and provide the time details as required. Of course, we provide it to you as a predefined rule, but I'll also be showing you how you can customize the rule to suit your own business environment. So if you'd like to know the details of suspicious SQL backup activity, you can access the in-depth report from the correlation tab. So simply click on the correlation tab and you see this is the correlation dashboard, which gives you details about the various events that have been detected in the recent time. So the recent incident, this is the recent incident dashboard, which gives you the details that you require of various incidents that have been detected recently. And if you'd like to know details about any specific events, you can select the report from the left pane over here, or you can directly navigate to the report by clicking on the report name over here. So the SQL backup activity report can be found under database threats. Click on suspicious SQL backup activity, and as you can see, you have the details over here related to the various occurrences of this event. Now you see this is an aggregated report. So it combines the information from various network sources. So if you would like to know a detailed breakdown of how this event occurred, you can always click on view history on any of these entries over here. So these are the various occurrences of this entire incident that I just described. You can navigate to any specific instance in the report and click on view history. And over here you have a detailed timeline that shows you the complete log trail of how this event occurred. So as I described to you, there are a series of failed Windows logons. You can see the details of each log as well as the time at which it occurred. If you would like further details of any log, you can always click on details and get the complete breakdown of the log information over here. Or you can peruse the timeline diagram over here and see the sequence of events. As I said, there is a series of failed Windows logons followed by a successful Windows logon, and finally an SQL Server logon and SQL Server backup operation. So this single report that you see over here gives you the complete information about a complex incident that I just described to you. So it's a really flexible and intuitive report that helps you understand all the details that you need to know about incidents that are occurring across various devices on your network. Of course, if you need to add or remove information from this report, you can always select add or remove columns. And you can see over here there are several details. You can always select or deselect the information that you require. Let's say I want to know the logon type. So once you do this, you can see that the report is immediately updated and it is completely customized to your needs. So now I told you that you can customize the rule to suit your own business environment. So to do this, you would have to go to the Manage Rules page. So when you click on Manage Rules, you get the list of all the correlation rules or at various attack scenarios that your correlation module checks for. So this is the list over here. If you would like to enable or disable any rule, you can always click on the same over here. If you would like to enable or disable real-time alerts for any rule, you can do that by selecting this slider button over here. So as I said, you can update the rule definition as you wish. So this is the suspicious SQL backup activity rule, and I told you how the rule is structured by default. So this is the predefined rule, and I told you that we require 5 failed logons, a successful logon, and so on. And I also told you the specific time limits, which you see over here. So as I said, the first action that occurs are several failed logons. You can see that the threshold limit is specified over here. You can change any of these values to suit your own specific requirements. So let's say I feel 10 minutes is too less, so or too much. I can always reduce this time limit and say that I'm looking for 5 failed logons within 5 minutes, and then I would like to wait for at least 5 minutes to check whether the person is able to successfully log on. So it's it's quite an easy to work with interface. It's basically a series of incidents which I described to you, and you can use these text boxes over here to specify the various threshold limits and the time limits between actions. And of course, you can always select the various log fields over here and apply various filters to make the rule much more specific. So you can select various details and say that, so uh, say the constant within action filter. So this filter helps you check that the device name is the same within all the occurrences of the rules. So you can get the details about this from our documentation. You have several filters which you can use, and you can check for specific values, and you can use all of these filters to make your rule extremely specific and ensure that you reduce the number of false positives that you get throughout your auditing process. So as you can see, correlation is an extremely powerful and flexible feature, and it can help you detect any number of complex attack incidents or scenarios that occur within your business environment. So that brings us to the close of this workshop and this workshop series. If you have any questions, please let us know on the live chat, or you can always email us for any queries at log360-support at manageengine.com. Thank you so much for tuning in to the workshop. If you have any questions, please let us know now.